Father is the noblest title a man can be given. It is more than a biological role. It signifies a patriarch, a leader, an exemplar, a confidant, a teacher, a hero, a friend. Robert L. Blackman. Hello,
Welcome.
Matt.
Hello, Kevin. Thank you for coming back. Welcome back, everybody, to the Headspace and Tasting Podcast, where we talk manhood, tell stories, and discuss the stuff that matters to us, one sip at a time. It is Monday, June 16th, 2025. We just came through every man's favorite weekend, Father's Day.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Army birthday.
No, Trump's birthday.
Flag Day.
Flag Day.
Everything.
Everything all in once.
Right.
That's how it is, though, right? With dads, you're just kind of a afterthought.
Everything all at once.
Yeah. Speaking of Father's Day, which was this past Sunday, third Sunday of June, right? It was first celebrated at a YMCA in 1910 in Spokane, Washington. Sonora Smart Dodd's father was a Civil War veteran who raised his six children by himself. In 1924, Calvin Coolidge recognized Father's Day as the third Sunday in June. Congress officially recognized it in 1956. In 1966, President Johnson issued a proclamation calling for the third Sunday in June to be Father's Day. But finally, in 1972, President Nixon permanently established the observance. Sonora Dodd lived to see this happen. She died in 1978 at the age of 96.
So when was the first?
1910. It only took 68 years.
Just to recognize a dad.
3 presidents tried to do it. And they're finally like, all right, let's give them a day.
Right.
I had a great Father's Day.
Mine was fun, too.
My baby Emma got me some great gifts. My wife got me some cool gifts, and we actually used one tonight on our podcast.
She's getting her revenge out on us right now.
She's singing. She's all fired up today, man. She's singing and having a great time up there. Like we mentioned, also, this past weekend was the Army's 250th birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, buddy. And a lot of people call it the Trump birthday parade, like he was throwing a party for himself for his own birthday, but it was actually the Army's 250th birthday. I didn't watch any of it. I saw just some clips online. It looked pretty pitiful.
And boring.
And I'm sure those soldiers were cussing Trump and hating life, their mandatory fun weekend, being forced to be there.
Right. I mean, they were doing obstacle courses.
It's terrible.
And fitness and
there's
playing tug of war, all that mandatory fun. And
every installation on the Army birthday has Army Day, right? And you go out and you do your whatever softball game, unit softball games. We used to have at Fort Lewis. We had a 10-mile race. That was a big deal. And then, but yeah, you're forced to be there. You would much rather have the time off to spend with your family or.
Yep. This is the change in times. I mean, even when I was in the 90s, change in times from the way it was to the way it is now. I mean,
yeah.
Technically, we have a closed post system. It was an open post when I was in.
Mm-hmm.
Kids were going to the local school district. They didn't have their own schools anymore. Many people are living off base. So you're a part of the community. You weren't necessarily an Army family like you were at one time.
Yeah.
And, to rope-a-dope everybody together just to have the mandatory fun and say, look at us,
Yeah.
I'd rather give everybody a 4-day pass and go, see you on Tuesday.
Yeah, that would go so much better for morale.
Sure would.
So the 14th is the Army birthday. That was June 14th, 1775. On the 15th of June, George Washington was unanimously chosen to be the commander of that army. The general and commander-in-chief is what his title was. And then there was a whole bunch of other positions that they were jockeying for after that. Like there was a lot of nepotism and silliness that went on behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah.
Your favorite guy got, who was the attorney general? Was John Adams, right? Was he attorney general?
For what?
The
during the Revolution.
No, I guess that would have been after. Who was the dude?
After he was vice president.
Yeah. Who the hell am I
Alexander Hamilton.
Hamilton.
Secretary of the Treasury.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of, Hamilton. Because they had to raise money to pay for this army, right? And we borrowed a lot of money from France.
Mm-hmm.
He was real big on that, like what we call today leveraging debt and all that kind of junk. He was a money nerd. Not a big fan of him personally, but you know.
Who are we talking about?
Hamilton.
Oh, okay. You jumped from Washington to Adams to Hamilton.
No, I was saying after Washington, there was a lot of positions that had to be filled to feed the army, clothe the army, fund the army, that kind of stuff.
Oh, well, he was an aide.
Yeah, he actually fought in the Revolution.
He did?
Yeah. He was a general, right? Was he a...
No.
He wasn't a... No, he was a colonel.
He was a colonel.
Yeah.
I think he was a light colonel at that.
Really?
I think so.
Huh. Okay. Dave, correct us.
Right. Get on the phone right now.
Yeah. Let's phone a friend. What else is going on? Oh, June 16th, 1858, this date in history. I looked it up. Abraham Lincoln gave his "A House Divided Cannot Stand" speech, which lost him the senatorial race because he was talking about slavery and the division that started between northern states and southern states a lot of people took offense to this speech and decided to go with the other candidate, who I don't even know who it was, but old Abe Lincoln lost. And people say it was because of this speech he gave. I tried to read the speech. I made it about halfway through. Then my ADHD kicked in, and I couldn't stand it anymore. I put it away. But I could only imagine sitting in some hot, sweaty congressional hall in Springfield, Illinois, and have to listen to this long, boring speech. Everybody stinks.
The oratory back then was incredible. 90-minute to 3-hour-long speeches.
Yeah.
Everybody was doing it, though.
It's crazy, man.
But you know what? I mean, I kind of like it because it slowed down the action of the Congress.
Yeah. Actually, that book I'm reading now about Rome, they would have to wait like a whole calendar year before, like, you would do your debates on a law to propose a law or a change to their whatever, and then you would have to wait a certain amount of time. And it was a long time. I think it was a year before they could actually come up for a vote.
Well,
So that way you're not doing anything rash out of
I don't know the
emotion.
exact timeline, but the state of Missouri is actually similar. You have to get all of your stuff in for the next session. It's like a month or two prior to the session.
Yeah.
Or it's at the end of the previous session. You have to have it in through committee or whatever for it to hit the docket for the next session.
That's a great idea.
Fall.
Our Congress is like 1159 point, 59.
And nobody read it?
Yeah. Here's a 3,000 page bill. We got to vote on it in 2 minutes.
Uh-huh.
Sons of bitches.
Yeah.
What else do we have here on the agenda to discuss?
No, we got all kinds of stuff.
Man, we got a bunch of stuff. So, we want to thank everybody for following us. We have our new listener in Sweden we talked about. And everybody who listens, we really, really appreciate you, especially our number one listener, our most important listener, our biggest fan, and we are also her biggest fan.
That'd be my daughter, Rachel.
Yep.
Hello, Rachel.
Shout out to Rachel.
And she donated today's bourbon.
Yeah. That's right. Well, this is not a bourbon, is it?
It is.
It's a whiskey.
Well, you're right.
It's a blended
It's a bourbon whiskey.
bourbon. Yeah. What is it?
It's a blend of straight whiskeys finished in black brandy casks.
Okay.
The brand is Blackened, which is the name of a song from the band Metallica, and this is their brand.
That's it.
And this is batch number 136. And the batch numbers for Blackened whiskeys are important
Yes.
because every single batch is finished differently.
How do they finish it?
Well, they do something called, it's a trademark, it's called Black Sound or Sonic Sound, Black Sound, and it's called Black Noise. Sorry,
Black
it's a
Noise.
trademark. black noise, and wherever the barrels are aging, they're getting pummeled with Metallica music through loudspeakers that generates a certain vibration on the barrels. It's a scientific algorithm that causes the barrels to vibrate in a certain way to release different flavors out of the staves and things like that that are in the barrels, and to get a certain flavor profile. And batch number 136 has its own song list. I reached out to the distillery to request that because they don't publicly tell you what it is, and they were happy enough to respond. So here is the list. If you want to listen to, if you're a Metallica fan, or if you just want to see what they were pushing through this barrel, starting with song number 1, That Was Just Your Life. That came out in 2008. Sad But True, 1991. The Shortest Straw, 1988. King Nothing from 1996. Atlas Rise from 2016. Nothing Else Matters, live from Through the Never. But the song itself came out in 1992. Invisible Kid from 2003. And Motor Breath from 1983. So that was the earliest song on the list.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Metallica fan. I am a metal fan, heavy rock, hard rock, whatever you want to call it. But Metallica, for some reason, just rubbed me the wrong way, man. I think, but Sad But True is a great song. They have some great songs, and I cannot hate on Metallica. They're very successful in what they do. They sell out stadiums still today, and they're doing it, man.
They're great entertainers.
Yeah. I'm just, just not their biggest fan, but I appreciate what they do.
I first started listening, 1988 is when I was 18, and Justice for All, that album came out.
I think that was their last good, well, I don't know, the Black
That's
album.
what introduced me to Metallica at that time. Became a big fan, actually, for quite a while.
I actually really like that album. And then when the Black Album came out, I was in high school, I believe, like Enter Sandman, and that was pretty badass.
One of the funniest stories is I was, 21, 22, and I was at a nightclub, and everyone's out on the dance floor doing all their stuff, and all of a sudden, Enter Sandman is the next song. It's like, how do you dance to Enter Sandman?
Oh, yeah. Mosh pit, baby.
It was funny. It was odd.
Yeah.
Amongst all the dance music, they threw this one in there.
Yeah, weird.
But yeah, so it is a blend of different American whiskeys and rye whiskeys.
It's like they finished it like a bourbon. It's a blend of American whiskeys, but they finished it in a bourbon style, right?
Yeah, and the barrels are black brandy casks.
Yeah.
Is what they finish it in.
Italian, too, right? Like this Italian brandy? Is that what
I
they say?
think so.
Yeah.
And then the black brandy is typically it's a brandy, but they infuse it with blackberries or other dark fruit for the flavor profile of a brandy.
Blueberry, blackberry, and raspberry. Fruit-forward finish. Often enjoyed neat. I definitely tasted after, we have to have like our first tasting, and then the second one is when we can really judge what it is. I was just eating some spicy Asian-style food that my beautiful wife made for us, and so I was like, man, this is really spicy, but after a while I'm like, maybe it's not that spicy. It's 90 proof, aged for, we think, maybe 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's from the Sweet Amber Distilling Company out of Columbus, Ohio. So what I got, man, when I smelled it on the nose was Red Hot's candy. Those little red things that come in a box?
Yep.
Like that candy cinnamon. That's kind of what I smelled. I'm also still trying to get over this cold or whatever the hell it is. But that's what I got. 90 proof. When I tasted it, I thought there's no way this is only 90 proof. This is pretty hot. But again, I was eating kimchi, so maybe
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
what it
because I
was.
got the opposite on that. It is one of those. You could tell it's an American whiskey because I don't have to get real close to the glass before
Yeah.
I start to smell it.
The vapors.
Yeah, it's coming up to you. The alcohol out of it's coming up to you already. Um, but tasting it, again, dark cherry, really strong on a really ripe, juicy orange. Was what I was getting. To me, that was the most dominant flavor. Simple syrup for me, and a little bit of Dr. Pepper, and that's probably from the black brandy cask. A little bit of Dr. Pepper flavor, and for me, the spice was light. It touches the tongue when I first take a drink of it, and touches the back when I go to swallow it, and it's just gone.
Yeah, that's what
That's it.
I wrote down. A late burn that doesn't linger.
No,
That's what I wrote.
it's a light color.
Yes, we both agreed on that. Straw leaning towards honey,
Yeah,
depending on how much you pour in your glass.
yeah, and we're just to be transparent here, we're doing our descriptions off these fancy little
Yeah,
33 glasses of whiskey journals.
my Father's Day gift.
Yeah, that your wife provided, and it's fun. I like the little stuff they have in here to play around with it.
It's neat. Their flavor wheel's different from what we have been using, and it's way more descriptive how they do it. It's kind of like a ranking system in a circle. What are there? One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7 dots that you could color in, and of course, I dove.
Yeah, it's like a pie chart. a
I
little
dove
bit.
straight in without reading the instructions and started coloring in circles and had to make corrections, which is kind of typical for me. But you said citrus, man. I didn't get any citrus. The only flavor aftertaste I got was a wild berry, like a blend of wild berries. And the only thing I can harken back to is like getting a little bottle of vodka, wild berry flavored vodka, the cheap Smirnoff stuff that you drink like out in the middle of a field and then puke your guts out later. That's kind of what I got, but not that harsh. It's just a little bit of berry, blackberry, raspberry kind of aftertaste, which makes sense.
Overall, for me, if I'm, how am I going to rate this? In our little journals, we have
Yeah.
5 stars.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it 2 ways. You know what? I'm going to rate it 2 out of 5 as an everyday drinker.
Agreed.
But I'm going to take it a step further, and you know what? This is a Metallica bottle. So I'm going to tell you that if I'm listening to Metallica and suddenly you just turned off all the bass and all I'm listening is to the treble, yeah, that's what it is. It's
All
like,
snare drum and high guitar.
yeah, it gets all
notes.
tinny and it's done.
Okay. I get it, man. But we truly appreciate this donation. We truly appreciate our number 1 listener.
Yeah, because we're not going to not drink it. We're still going to drink
Oh,
it.
yeah. No, come on.
What do you think we are?
Yeah, it tastes better than bourbons that we've paid for that we've rated low,
Yeah.
you know?
But I'm curious. We said it at the beginning, batch number 136, and then every single batch has its own playlist.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I have another version, an earlier batch at home that I haven't opened. It's been sitting on my shelf for about 3 years. I would be curious if their intent is that every single batch they produce tastes different,
That would
has
be
a
cool.
different profile. And if that's what they were trying to do to get you to buy into it, if that's what they're doing, good idea.
Yeah.
But if they're doing all these different playlists, but it tastes the same all the time, yeah, go buy something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of which, I bought a bottle of Woodford Reserve Double Oaked at Costco the other day and revisited that, and I was like, damn, this is good. It's so good. So we're on the theme of music, right? Talking about how this music supposedly influenced the flavor of this bourbon.
Yeah.
How has music influenced your life, Kevin? What role has music played in your life?
Oh, wow.
I know back when you were a kid, you're playing the old 45s and listening
Yeah,
to doo-wop
so-
music, right?
I grew up in a music home in that my mom had stacks so it was still 45s and albums
Yeah.
growing up. And stacks and stacks of them, and old 45s and albums of the Beatles. And I mean, that's who I knew then. And as a kid, Kiss was my thing.
Oh, okay.
We're talking the original, you know, the fire, the blood,
Yeah.
you know, all the good stuff. And
Cod pieces.
yeah, and that was my first concert, 1978.
Ooh,
My mom took me, I was 8 years old.
nice.
Went to the arena, saw Kiss, loved it. And, you know, I've been a music fan ever since, all along. Never not involved in music in some way. And then my dad, one day, I was what? It was summer, 15 years old. And, you know, I'm in those teen years. You start to explore and do things.
Yeah.
And my dad had a cassette carrier
Oh, yeah.
that had about 30 different
Looks like a briefcase.
cassettes. Yeah.
Yeah.
In there, and I just happened. I'm hanging out in the garage, and I thought, well, I'm just going to try this, and I put in, you know, Rolling Stones' greatest hits from like 62 to 68 kind of deal.
Yeah.
And suddenly I went, oh my God, what am I listening to?
Yeah.
And well, I was hooked.
Yeah, you thought the Beatles were rock and roll, and then you're like, whoa, this
Yeah,
is different.
I started really expanding my knowledge on music at that point. And then MTV came out.
Yeah.
And cable television, and I mean, I was an MTV nut, getting in that, and I was all over the place.
Yeah.
And then that was my thing as a teenager, was trying to go to as many concerts as I could do. You know, the St. Louis Amphitheater didn't exist at the time,
No.
so everything you did was at Six Flags, at the Old Glory Amphitheater.
Yeah.
And so I used to buy a season pass to Six Flags for nothing more than to go to concerts.
Yeah.
Because after 2 visits, you paid for the whole pass
That's
for the
I
year.
mean, and you saw some pretty good.
Saw
performances.
Joan Jett,
Yeah.
The Outfield, Richard Marx, REO Speedwagon, a bunch of them. And good times. I got some good pictures of them. I actually shut down the Joan Jett concert. You got time for the story?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
So, summertime, I'm a teenager, and I was into picture taking at the same time. So I had this Pentax 1000 35 millimeter camera, and I had a zoom lens. So it was about as long as this whiskey bottle.
Dang.
And, you know, they say cameras aren't allowed,
Yeah.
but I just walked in. I didn't hide it. The security guard's there. He's looking at me.
Yeah.
Says hi. I walk in. I'm about midway up to where I'm eye level with the stage. And Joan Jett comes out and starts playing, and I start snapping pictures. And in the middle of her first song, she suddenly sees me taking pictures. She just stops and walks off stage. No more music. Next thing I know, security's coming and go, you got to go. You can't have that camera here. Like, oh, I was the reason? I'm feeling pretty good.
Joan Jett noticed you.
Right. They didn't take my film. I still have my pictures,
Nice.
you know, wearing her red leather.
Can we post those? Can we put them up for the
Why
this
not?
episode?
Yeah,
Hell
I can
yeah.
do that.
Nice.
I'll put a couple of them up.
Okay.
I saw the Bangles there.
You know the crazy thing is Joan Jett was my first concert.
Was he?
Yeah. She opened up for Steve Miller Band at the Riverport Amphitheater.
Okay.
The first concert I ever went to. It was cool, man. She was rocking. Still hot, gorgeous.
Yeah.
Still good looking.
Yep.
And that was fun, man.
I'll get them up this week.
Okay. Yeah, I also started listening to 45s when I was a kid because my dad had it was like a piece of wood base and a dowel rod going straight up about 3 feet, and then it was just stacked with 45s.
Oh, wow. He was
And-
all in.
Yeah. And so I would go through it, and I gravitated more toward, I heard Chuck Berry for the first time. And then I heard Jerry Lee Lewis, which was two of my favorites, Chuck Berry and Jerry Lee Lewis. And then that kind of led me to Led Zeppelin and AC/DC. And then I started going down that road, and I'm like, man, I
Right.
love it. It was like English bands influenced by American rhythm and blues music, and then they put like came out with this rock and roll. Chuck Berry is really the original. I call him, he's the true king of rock and roll. Him and Jerry Lee Lewis, kind of neck and neck. But I'm a homer. I love St. Louis, so Chuck Berry is king of rock and roll. And yeah, and then I found that I was staying up late, cable TV. I think it was public access. I don't know what it was. I was dozing off about 2 a.m. They had a House of Blues. It was from Chicago. House of Blues concert I was watching, and there was this skinny white guy sitting on a stool with a steel electric guitar and just playing the heck out of guitar. And I was like, dude, what is this? And I loved it. And his name's Garrett, but the band is G Love and Special Sauce. And I think this was like 1993, right? And he's playing a song called Blues Music. And it's just him playing the guitar and singing. And man, I've been a fan of that band ever since. They use an upright bass, a drummer, and then Garrett G Love, the lead singer, guitarist. And actually, me and Caitlin just saw him at the Duck Room a few months back.
Wow.
A 30th anniversary tour.
Wow.
And it was great, man. Still rocking. And I've seen him probably, I don't know, 5 times. They travel all over the place. And then I heard my favorite band of all time, Clutch, which is a very bluesy rock and roll. Some people call it stoner rock, which I didn't even know what that was a thing back in the 90s. Kind of like a fantasy, sci-fi, but very traditional blues rock. And man, I've been hooked on them for a long, long time. I've seen them dozens of times.
Today, I can't tell you that I have a favorite.
No?
No. My music love is so broad spectrum.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
That it's hard for me to. I can't even tell you a genre of music.
So let me.
I mean, I'll listen to classical music one day.
Yeah.
I'll go to worship music another day, and I'm doing everything in between. And that's how it is every day.
Here's my favorite songs playlist. It's just starting from the top. Clutch, Led Zeppelin, The Animals, Jimi Hendrix, Buffalo Springfield, The Band, Cake, Fugazi, Blind Melon, Blues Traveler, Toadies, Butthole Surfers, Space Hog, Harvey Danger, Sponge, Presidents of the United States of America, Smashing Pumpkins, Local H from St. Louis, Smashing Pumpkins again, Everclear. So these are like more 90s, Weezer, the Beta Band, the Dead Milkmen. And then it gets into Vivaldi, Tripping Daisy, Simon and Garfunkel. Let's see, Gary Clark Jr. He's a good one. Hozier, Allman Brothers. Just
my playlists are titled as Dad's Favorites.
Okay.
Then I have Me Time, Groove Tunes, Country, Classic or Classical, and then I have the Tighter Circle, which is kind of like Dad's favorites, but my favorite favorites, all kind of tucked in. These are the ones I want to listen to all the time.
I'm not going to talk about the titles of all my playlists, but I have favorite songs, oldies.
Yeah.
Caitlin. Matt and Caitlin, because we made a playlist for our wedding, on our wedding reception.
We agreed yesterday that one of our favorite songs is Still of the Night by Whitesnake. You're driving down the road playing that one, the whole family's going nuts.
For us, it would be Jukebox Hero.
Okay.
And then Slow Ride by Foghat.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Those are good ones. I used to ride I had this 1974 Dodge Dart, playing the whole Dazed and Confused soundtrack on the CD player. I put a CD player in it.
I was like playing pool one night with Dave at Hot Shots, and they got the jukebox there, and there's always a list, right? But if you pay enough money, it will bump your song up.
Yeah, you can hijack it.
He goes up there. I don't remember the name of the song, but it was oh gosh, he's gonna kill me. Dark Side of the Moon. Who's
Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd. He goes up there and plays the 20-minute, 26-minute Pink Floyd
Or
song.
it's just like ambient noise. And
And we go back and we're just cracking up laughing because you could see people in the bar going, "What the? Is this thing ever going to end?"
man,
It's funny.
I have a lot of songs that are attached to girls that I dated in high school too. When I hear a certain song, I remember
Oh yeah, like give me one.
"Stuck in the Middle with You" by Steeler Wheel.
Were you stuck in the middle?
Yeah, because I had a bench seat in my Dart, and my girlfriend Ashley would have to sit in the middle while my best friend Chris Bailey sat on the right, on her right. So "Stuck in the Middle with You," and
Did she end up with him?
no,
Oh, okay.
there was another one with her. "You're the One for Me, Fatty" by Morrissey, because my nickname as a kid was Fatty Matty.
You're the one for me, one for me.
You're the one for me.
Oh, I thought
Fatty,
you were
you're
doing
the
Veggie Tales.
No. Yeah, so that one, and then, me and Caitlin.
Manatee, you're the one for me, one for me.
Wait, is your pen leaking on my flag, dude?
I guess.
Come on.
Oops,
Now
sorry.
you're going to have to spill your blood to match it out. Caitlin and I have a song, "In Spite of Ourselves." That's our song. And anytime it comes on, there's a man lines, and then there's the woman line, female line. So we sing it together. And then
Okay.
it's a cool song. Check it out.
That's fine. We're Galen are the same way. Our dance song at our wedding was "I Want You, I Need You, I Love You" by Elvis.
Oh, okay.
And we used to sing that to each other.
Nice.
Just one of those things,
That's good, man. Uh-huh.
And then, but if you look at my playlist, I even have songs on there from Phineas and Ferb.
Oh,
Squirrel in My Pants. Got that on there. Veggie Tales. I'm Your Cheeseburger. It's one of my favorites. We played that this weekend.
When I was a real little kid, I was super into Michael Jackson because he was huge when I was, in the 80s, late 80s. And I wanted so bad for Christmas one year. I was begging, please, I want that leather jacket with all the zippers all over it, and I want the glove, the shiny glove. I was just like, please, Santa, please bring me a zipper jacket. I don't want anything else. Don't give me anything else but this. And I got boxing gloves and a Nintendo NES. Thank you, Dad, for stepping in there and making the right choice. Yeah, Michael Jackson was huge, but also Weird Al Yankovic was really huge.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was the start of the parody music.
Yeah.
And you had, you remember the Jerky Boys? You ever heard of them?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And that kind of stuff, like prank calls and weird songs that were making fun of other songs, and Grandma got ran over by a reindeer, that kind of stuff. The comedy was really fun.
Music is a part of us.
It is. It's a
I
very
listen to it
American
every day.
thing. Very American, right?
Like,
And
there's some odd Paul Simon stuff
Yeah,
that he
it's
did.
good.
Diamonds on the soles of her shoes, stuff like that, when he did all that African blend and all his stuff. Man, I dig all that.
Yeah, I like his. I remember it was with my Aunt Dot. We used to ride around in her car. She had a Cutlass, and she would blast whatever song, 80 songs. Paul Simon, "You Can Call Me Betty," and
Right.
Betty. And she would be singing and holding up a fake microphone. And then when it was your turn to sing, she would hold the microphone in front of your face, and you would sing along. And it was super fun riding around with Dot, blasting music and having a great time in her Cutlass. And she had an RX-7 at one time. She used to let us drive. Well, we would sit on her lap and drive, and she'd shift. But music was always in the background for that stuff.
And I never played it. I can't play anything.
I cannot play an instrument.
Can't do it.
I can keep time with some drumsticks, and do some paradiddles and stuff like that. But I do not have the autism, I think, is what you need to learn
The
the
closest to the music industry was when I was a doorman at an old club called Keys. It was in Westport, and it was a dueling piano bar.
fun.
It was a lot of fun, and all the employees participated in that in some way. They had the giant dancing piano, or they brought you up for different parodies of different songs.
Did you play the straight man? And like,
Actually, they did. Man, what was the? It was a celebration of the end of the Vietnam War or something. I forget what it was, and they had me because I was going through the ROTC program
high
at
and
the time
tight.
because I was still in college. Yeah, and they had me dress up as the Army National Guard dude with the poncho and the hard helmet and all that.
oh, okay.
When they called in the National Guard for something.
Yeah, somebody put a flower in your barrel of your rifle or
Oh,
something.
you know what it was? It was Woodstock. They were doing a Woodstock recreation that night, reliving it, and they had different things going on. And
Yeah.
at the end, the National Guard got called in,
Yeah.
and that was me.
Man, speaking of Woodstock, you remember when they revived it back in the late 90s? I got the pay-per-view for that, and I pitched a tent in my parents' living room downstairs, and I slept in my tent and watched it on pay-per-view 24 hours. It was a live feed, and I just laid in my tent and pretended I was there at Woodstock, man. It was really, really cool. It was, I was big time into it, man. I love the 60s, late 60s rock and roll.
Oh yeah,
And you know, some people-
Inagata Davida
oh yeah, yeah.
with an 18-minute drum solo.
I loved it all, man. I even watched the whole entire Woodstock, the original Woodstock. I've watched that.
Oh yeah,
And some of it's kind of like, "Ugh, get off the stage, man." But there's some great gems in there that people that didn't even get
well, that's
big
what
and
made Joe
famous.
Cocker famous.
Oh yeah, that was great, man.
He got famous based off of that.
Yeah. Jimi Hendrix too. Like, I mean, he was already pretty famous, but when he played the national anthem,
I think he was the highest paid performer.
well, yeah, that makes sense.
Most of the performers didn't get much money at all, if anything.
No.
And I think he was the highest paid.
And you know
Come
what the
on.
craziest thing is? So people say that Jimi Hendrix is the greatest guitar ever, right? But then a guy named Stevie Ray Vaughan came along and played Jimi Hendrix songs better than Jimmy could ever play them. Stevie Ray Vaughan, to me, he was like he wasn't from this planet, the way he played the guitar and sang.
Yeah, but there's a lot of. I'm more of a traditionalist when it comes to music.
Yeah. Okay.
I prefer the originals on just about everything.
Well,
I
Stevie
don't
Ray
even
Vaughan had
like-
a lot of originals.
I,
But
yeah, I know, but I don't like remasters.
when he played Voodoo Child, though, man, have you heard that?
Probably.
Him
I might
play Voodoo
have.
Child. It's like it's a whole different song.
The only difference is Simon and Garfunkel, "The Sound of Silence."
It was good.
But when it was remade by
The new
Yeah.
what's her name? Godsmack or
can't remember his name.
whatever.
Band. I really like that version.
It was good.
And
It's it's
even
powerful.
Paul Simon has admitted that his version is better than theirs.
Yeah.
You know,
It's powerful. Yeah, there's some remakes where you're like, whoa, that's a totally different song. Like, it's the same words, sure. Maybe the same melody.
but you know, there's bands now. People want to go see these bands that have been around for 50 years, stuff like that, and
Yeah.
I'm just not into it.
Man, there's a new band out. They're pretty popular now, but they're called Royal Blood. And it's two brothers. One plays bass, the other plays guitar. That's it. And they freaking rock. I saw them in Charlotte, North Carolina at this little, I mean, there couldn't have been more than 200 people in this place. But they just burned the place down. It was amazing. And it's a bass and a drum. And this guy plays the bass guitar as if he's playing rhythm guitar and the bass line at the same time. And it's totally new. I was like, what is going on here? They're English, two English dudes, just rocking, American rock, man. It's like, it's crazy that I love the new stuff, like Tool, when they came out and the stuff that they were doing. I had no idea what I was listening to. It's so different than anything I'd ever heard before. And where I was questioning, like, is this really good? Is this appealing? I don't know. I keep listening to it.
I was
And-
always intrigued by the fact that you get all these foreigners that, with their accents, and they start singing, they sound American.
Right.
Everybody loses their accent when they start singing. I always
Jimmy
found that
Page sounds like he grew up in Mississippi or something when
very
he sings.
intriguing.
Yeah. The Beatles had a little bit of an English accent when they sang, but not really.
Mm.
They were kind of. But did you know the Beatles could play every one of their songs in German?
Well, that's where they're getting their popularity.
Yeah, strip clubs in Germany.
Yeah.
But they could play every song in German. That's pretty cool. What else about music? I used to sneak out. Well, not really sneak out. I would say, "Hey, Mom, I'm spending the night at Bruce's." Bruce would say, "I'm spending the night over at Matt's," and we'd all hop in the car and go downtown to the High Point or to the Galaxy and see shows.
Were you old enough to get into Mississippi Nights? Did you ever do Mississippi
Yeah,
Nights?
I went to
before
Mississippi
they
Nights.
closed?
I actually saw G Love and Special Sauce there, which was a great show, man.
See,
that
everything
place
was-
is cool. They had like a big bar in the center, right? And then the stage was only like if you were standing on the stage, your head was almost touching the ceiling.
It was, that was Laclede's Landing. I mean, that was the
Yeah.
place to be.
Oh, yeah.
And then it just completely fell apart. I mean,
No.
there ain't nothing left of Laclede's Landing.
It's crazy, man. Yeah, that's the north side though.
Yeah, because you had Metropole was there.
Is Westport even doing like? Is it popular still? People still.
Oh, yeah, Westport's still, they keep investing into Westport. And
Okay.
there's a lot going on there.
Well, we're going to see Clutch in Chesterfield in August,
Yeah. See, now they get these music houses all over
Yeah.
the place. It's not just bars anymore.
and they're really good though. Like the House of Blues. I've been to a couple House of Blues. One in Florida, one in South Carolina, and I think one in Tennessee. They're really good, man, because they know how to make a music venue to where the acoustics are really good and there's not a bad seat in the house.
If I'm going to go listen to good bar music, I mean, one of the last places I still go to is the Trainwreck
Oh,
in
okay.
Westport. That's one of the last places.
Or
Otherwise,
the Diamond Music Hall to see REO classics.
yeah, but the Diamond Music Hall is a music hall.
Yeah.
like
No,
most
bar.
others.
Yeah, good bar music. There is something to be. That's fun, man. Where you're kind of like the floor is kind of sticky
Yeah,
and it's tight quarters.
yeah,
A fight could break out at any minute.
yeah, but they don't.
No, they don't. That's fun, man. I almost get into fights a lot of times when I go to concerts, but that's just 'cause I don't.
There was a
tolerate
local band that was together for 20, 25 years. They finally closed up just from an age change in life thing. They were called the Bitter Pill, and I thought they were one of the best local bands around
Oh yeah.
at the time.
For me, it'd be The Urge. You ever heard of them?
Mhm.
Yeah, The
Oh, yeah.
Urge, and I can't think of them right now. I could find them up, but yeah, The Urge. They're still doing it. They have the Blues fight song whenever a fight happens, and then when the Blues score a goal, that's the Urge playing, and that dude owns a hot dog stand down in St. Louis in U City, I think, and but yeah, they still get together and play. It's pretty cool. Remember the old VP Fair? There used to be a lot of good music would be at the VP Fair.
I do.
I saw The Urge play there before, and
I saw Bob Hope at the VP Fair.
oh wow, did he do a stand-up routine?
He did.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's another thing that's pretty rock and roll, right? Is stand-up comedy. That's kind of rock and roll. That's an American
Yeah.
thing that is.
I
it
think it's,
started out
it's one of the last American things.
It started out like vaudeville type of shows, but turned into stand-up comedy around Ronnie Dangerfield and maybe a few earlier people. But
Because the Funny Bone's still here.
Oh, yeah.
We go to the Funny Bone once in a while,
we
maybe
do
once
too.
a year.
It's great. Like even a bad comedian where you're like kind of feeling comfortable. It's so fun. I love it.
It's still funny.
I
yeah.
love that art form is very appealing to me.
Yeah.
Just like music. I don't know if I ever heard a bad. I don't know if I've ever been to a bad concert. Oh, you know what? I went to Ozfest in 1999, and the band before Pantera was called Methods of Mayhem, which was Tommy Lee,
I've heard of them.
who was the drummer for what's that band? It just left my brain.
Oh.
Not Poison, but
No.
Motley Crue.
Yeah, Motley
he was the
Crue,
drummer
the
for Motley
Crue.
Crue. But then he decided he's going to be a lead guitarist and lead singer for a band. It was terrible, and everybody booed him off the stage. I think he didn't even make it to the third song, and he was throwing up the the Birds and FU, and everybody's like, get off the stage, man. We want to see Pantera and Black Sabbath. Get out of here. This bull crap. It was terrible. Mm-hmm. And I was very proud of St. Louis that day for getting that clown off the stage and make room for Pantera. Which then it was like, I think I'm going to die tonight when Pantera started playing. For real. I was like, wow, this is it. It was wild, man. Black Sabbath was cool. Obviously not the full original band, but as close as possible.
Sure.
See Ozzy up there doing his thing. It was really fun.
You know who opened? When I went to KISS 1978, you know who the opener was? My mom asked me this yesterday, of all things.
Oh, yeah?
Because she couldn't remember. John Cougar.
Whoa.
When he was John
Cougar.
Cougar. He was the opener for KISS.
Man, was everybody like, boo, get this chick off the stage?
No, nobody knew what he was doing. Nobody was into John Cougar at the time.
No, well, he's kind of like a folk, almost like folk music, maybe?
Yeah, at that time.
I guess so, yeah.
You know?
I wonder if KISS did that on purpose for like, oh, yeah, let's set these fools up, and then we're going to come like 50-foot flames and spitting blood all over the place.
Yep. They didn't have the high-rise ramp or the high-rise platforms at this stage. They had these ramps that came out from behind the drum set and came down toward the middle.
Oh, okay.
And then when Peter Criss rode up, while he was doing his drum solo, it was a black with a blue line Panther. The eyes sparkled out.
Nice.
And all the fire and all that junk going on, and Gene Simmons flying through the air.
Yeah, my youngest son just saw them, like, it was probably 2022 maybe, and Gene Simmons came like zip-lining down over their heads with his bass. Dude's like 70 years old on a zip line.
Yep. That was at the Checkerdome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Which
became the arena.
Yep.
Then got blown up.
Now I'm so glad I got to see the Blues play at the arena. Blues against the Minnesota North Stars. I saw them play Red Wings and the North Stars and the Blackhawks at the arena. It was so cool.
I saw Hart at the arena.
Oh.
And
give me some of that Metallica juice.
Definitely. And then Huey Lewis and the News.
Oh, that's super cool.
Saw them at the arena.
That would be very fun.
He's deaf.
Is he?
Yeah. He can't, he doesn't sing anymore. You can't hear himself.
No.
Yeah.
That's sad. But did you see, the movie American Psycho, where Christian Bale puts the cassette tape in as Huey Lewis and the News, and he's talking about them and blah, blah, blah. But Huey Lewis did a parody of that where he was the one who put the tape in, and he's talking about Huey Lewis. It's great. It's on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, it's really funny. But that's super sad that he lost his hearing, probably from all the...
It's some neuro thing that he had going on. It wasn't from sound.
Not ear damage?
No.
Oh, no.
And then you mentioned Chuck Berry. Mm-hmm. I was a teenager, and before they widened all this stuff and all this was all developed, there was this lone gas station on Highway 40 where Feisey Road ended.
Yeah.
Out in the middle of nowhere. And I was getting gas there one day, and this white Cadillac pulls up. This dude gets out. I'm like, man, that's Chuck Berry.
Holy crap.
So.
Because he had a restaurant out in Wentzville.
Well, he lived out there.
Yeah.
He had his house out there.
Yeah.
And he's pumping gas. I'm pumping gas. And we just talked for a second while filling up the gas tanks.
Yeah.
On our way. I didn't ask for an autograph. Nothing.
Sure.
He knew I knew. I
of course.
said, hi, good to meet you, and all that. And talked a little bit, and on our way.
Nice.
Yeah.
My dad, to this day, swears on a Bible that he knew Tina Turner and Ike Turner. That he hung out with them, that he got picked up in a limo, like he was their white friend. And he would go to these bars and watch Ike and Tina.
You don't believe him?
No, I don't believe him. But
I don't know.
But when the movie came out, the movie Tina came out, right? And Tina's playing in this bar in North St. Louis. There's one white guy sitting at the end of the bar, skinny white kid with a flat top, And my dad immediately, that's me. That's me right there.
Could very well be.
We were all like, holy crap. Is this guy telling the truth? But yeah, he...
You know, it's easy to do the research and go find pictures.
yeah, we could probably find something. There's tons of pictures of Ike and Tina back in the day.
Or the crowd.
Yeah.
You know-
It's cool that how big of a role St. Louis has played in the music industry.
Oh, very
you know,
much so.
With jazz, blues music, right on the Mississippi River.
Yep.
We don't get, Chicago kind of gets a lot of credit, and down in the Delta area, Mississippi gets a lot of credit, but St. Louis is a huge role in, especially jazz.
Yes.
And jazz is a form of music where it's like, it's a love-hate. Like you hear it and you understand what's going on and you appreciate it, or you're like, hey, this sounds like nails on a chalkboard and some kind of weird crap that is annoying, But my friend Tommy it can play jazz drums. That's for you, Rachel.
The unicorn.
He's a percussionist and he plays in jazz bands, and so talking to him and listening to him describe it, and it's a language that musicians kind of came up with to talk to each other with their instruments type of thing, and you can just throw a band together like tonight, get up on stage, and you're all riffing off of each other and playing different things, and it's kind of a playful banter type of thing. It's really, really cool to see that in person.
Mm-hmm.
And to know that played a big role in our hometown is really cool, man. I don't listen, I don't have a lot of jazz music on my playlist. I do like Snarky Puppy, that band. You've ever heard of them?
No.
They're really fun. They're kind of a jazz type of style. Big band, almost big band jazz thing. They're fun to listen to. But yeah, Tommy Embrick, he's the man. I like his music. I sent you some of his music. He likes to play.
Yes.
He plays vibraphone a lot. He can play drum. Anything you can hit and make noise with, he can play it. It's really cool. So shout out Tommy. What else we got to talk about? You want to do some current events?
We can.
You want to talk about the peaceful protests that are going on in L.A., where the Marines were called out, which is very strange, right? That's kind of unprecedented, isn't it, for the Marines to be called?
Well, I think the last time it was done was during was that Rodney King?
Yeah,
Rodney
LA
King
riots.
riots. That was George H.W. Bush that called in the Marines then.
Well, can you explain the role of the relationship between the Marine Corps and the president?
No.
Oh, well, they're the only branch of the military that is that the president can direct. Like if martial law is going to be declared, it'll be the Marine Corps that is the one that does it.
I was not aware.
Yeah, he's the only one. But like he can, the states will mobilize the National Guard. The U.S. Army, the Posse Comitatus, they're not allowed to operate on U.S. soil. Like there's some weird legal. Even though George Bush did it during Hurricane Katrina, sent the 82nd Airborne down to Louisiana, which was no bueno, in my opinion.
Well, George H.W. Bush did it after Hurricane Andrew in Florida.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Active duty Army?
Yeah. I-Corps was down there doing all that stuff. They were down there for a full year
Yeah.
helping out.
So maybe Dave can correct us on this and give us the real rules.
For me,
I don't like it, man.
my attention's been on Israel,
Yeah.
the Middle East, Iran. You and I were talking earlier today about the reported seismic activity in certain areas of Iran, and the kind of seismic activity that was getting picked up is only two things can cause that. One was they tested a nuke underground, the Iranians, or it was a bunker buster,
Yeah.
which only the U.S. has them. And if that was launched, then that was one that we gave to Israel, or we launched it ourselves. And that's just not making the news right now. But I know that the carrier Nimitz is moving from China to the Middle East. There were, last report, 28 aerial refueling tankers redeployed from the U.S., moving off the East Coast, headed east.
Well,
And, I was, Israel over the last week or so took out pretty much the entire Iranian Air Force,
yeah.
general staff,
Did you know
Iranian Guard.
Israel's lost 3 F-35s shot down, and they've had 2 pilots captured. What do you think they're going to do to get those pilots back?
Yeah. I think what Israel did over the last year, and I'll go all the way back to when they were using the pagers and all that, and they made them into bombs and killed 3,000 Hezbollah folks, all connected to these things off of frequency. I think what they did is they rewrote the book on modern warfare, and the U.S. military operations manuals need to catch up. And we are always big on, we need to fight according to certain rules, the law of legal lawful warfare and all that. What Israel proved was fighting troops on the ground is not enough. You got to take out the infrastructure. You got to take out the leadership, and you got to whack them off at the head. And
and I think
that's going to be the future.
I think they took lessons learned from us, from our wars in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah, we weren't taking out the leadership.
No, I think they were saying hey, we're not going to piddle around like they did. We're not going to.
Right. But I'm just talking about
playing whack-a-mole all over the place.
Right. I'm talking about a redefinition of what modern warfare looks like. And that is...
Ukraine, Russia does that too.
Our next war will not just be putting troops into a country. Right as that's going to happen, we're going to assassinate everybody we can from the top down and completely incapacitate their command and control.
You have to.
But we weren't doing that.
The problem is, is that, hey, you killed my dad. So guess what? Now I'm coming after you, and so are my 7 brothers.
Well, yeah, that's tribal warfare.
That's how they are, though. That's how they roll.
I mean, I get that.
And so it's perpetual war.
That's the Middle East. All you gotta do is read the Bible.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true.
Israel wouldn't have these problems today if Joshua actually went through and conquered Israel like he was supposed to. And he didn't.
Yeah.
So that's documented.
Yeah, war's ugly.
It is.
And it's brutal. And if you try to do it any other way, you're cutting your own throat.
Yep.
And that's just the unfortunate fact.
You can call it shock and awe and all that other bull crap, but shock and awe to me is you went in there with such total force as you can put out.
Yeah, it would look like Gaza does today.
And then it's done in 36 hours.
Yeah.
War's over, and the entire world went, I'm not touching them. That's kind of how Desert Storm was for us for a little bit, brief period of time. Desert Storm, we went in there and just went,
well,
you're
you
done.
remember when the Taliban was messing with Donald Trump in his first term, and he dropped the Moab, and they were like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll talk. And then he sent them a picture of their houses and said, hey, man, if another American gets killed, we know where you live. And then they stopped. That's the fact of life. I mean, look at a Pride of Lions.
For the Middle East,
anything.
yes.
I mean, anywhere. Look at Ukraine and Russia. They're just
well, see, that's the thing is this whole
like,
all this that's going on. No one's looking at Ukraine and Russia right now because Russia has taken over like 4 more towns.
Yeah,
and they keep moving east, right through the center now.
Yeah,
and it is just not making the news right now. And Zelensky's freaking out and all that. The G7's meeting in Canada at the moment.
Yeah, whatever, man.
See what goes on there. The Bilderbergs met last week.
That's where the real decisions are made.
But that's what the G7's for, is to execute what the Bilderbergs told them to do.
Yeah. Tell me when the Rothschilds show up, and then we'll know.
I don't know. There's a lot to be said for the things that are going on.
Here's the thing, man. Like, okay, so us as Americans, we're living in the Midwest. And what effect, honestly, does the Israel versus Iran Palestine war have on us? How does it affect your daily life?
Practically, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Right.
And if
but
we
I'm
didn't,
not speaking from a practical term.
well, I'm saying that if we didn't have a 24-hour news cycle, if we didn't have the internet, we would have no idea about what's going on over there.
Right. You'd get 24 hours later in the newspaper.
Maybe.
You would.
But even then, like, people would be like, "Oh no, that's sad." Anyway, I need to harvest my crops because I need food for the winter. You know, and that's kind of how warfare has been our whole entire since the beginning. People, it's like, all right, this horrible stuff is happening on another side of the planet, but we still have to live our lives. We still have to provide for our families and worry about what's going on here on the home front. Because what's going on in LA or Minneapolis or downtown St. Louis has way more effect on our daily life than what's going on between Israel and Iran. Yeah, it's scary. They have nukes and all, blah, whatever. But, what are we going to do if a nuke is launched towards St. Louis? Nothing. There's nothing we could do about it.
Right.
But what are we going to do if a horde of people start coming down I-70 across the Missouri River into St. Charles County looking for food or wanting to make some noise and burn some buildings down? That's what we should be more worried about. The enemy within. Right?
Okay.
You don't think about that? Who's
Not
funding
as
these
much
people?
as I used to.
When I saw videos down in L.A., right in front of the federal building, a truck pulls up. It's full of tear gas masks and food and water, and these masks are not cheap. The food is not cheap. How did these people get? Like, did they just out of their own goodwill? They ran their credit cards up to get these.
The Democratic Party. I'm sorry, they're not Democratic.
No.
The Democrat Party
Right.
has publicly admitted funding some of these demonstrations.
So my question is, who's funding them? Who's funding the Democrat Party?
Oh yeah, right.
They didn't just they don't generate money out of the air.
Right.
Where do they get their money from?
Yeah.
People like George Soros, the Clinton Foundation, the Bilderbergs, the Rothschilds, whoever, have been evil people throughout human history, and that crap is going to escalate. You thought it was bad in the first Trump administration? It's going to get way crazy.
Well, it already is.
They're trying to make you feel sorry for people who broke our laws and came into this country illegally, which I'm like, yeah, I do feel sorry for those people, because if I was in Mexico, you can guarantee I would try to get out of there and get to the United States to have a better life for me and my family. But, man, we have laws. We have an immigration process. We have, we're a country founded on laws.
Yeah. We haven't had an immigration process in 60 years.
It's terrible, man.
Yeah.
It's terrible. We talked about this before,
yeah.
about how crappy it is, man.
And see, now the migration of immigrants, I think, is organized.
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely. You have Chinese people going to South America and making their way up on the trail, getting
That's
in the United
infiltration.
States. That's straight up infiltration.
Yeah.
And all of this stuff that's going on, these uprisings in the streets, this No Kings protest, you guys were all being played by the CCP, by Russia, and it's all organized by people who want to tear down the United States. That's it. And that's, united we stand, divided we fall.
I'll take it to more of the personal level, and I stated it over the weekend, and that is, I just need to make sure, do my best to let those around me feel safe, put out a positive vibe to others, and, try and move around with a grateful attitude.
Yeah.
And, I have people I work with, friends, neighbors, all have so many different 180 plus viewpoints to me, and we're still friends.
Yeah.
And
what did you say? What's the shirt you saw?
Humankind, be both.
Be both. Human and be kind.
Yep.
Right? Yeah.
And, it's not hard,
No.
really. I mean, all this, we truly are wasting our time trying to say, oh, we need to, it is so focused on it's my way or the highway.
Yeah. Tribalism, right?
Right. And even within that, okay, great. Let's say you're victorious in telling everybody that all the migrants can be here.
Yeah.
Okay. Now they're here. And then, not the migrants, but the next thing you have is, a bankrupt government
Yeah. Schools
because they're
can't
giving
handle
away
it.
all, right, taxes. Oh, okay. So now who are you going to blame?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're going to blame the rich guy.
You got to blame, yeah, because they're not paying their fair share.
Right. Okay. So the rich guy, you tax him out
Yeah.
as much as you can possibly.
And then
do
he
it.
moves to Costa Rica.
And he's gone, or he
Then what?
closes his businesses.
Yeah.
And
300
then,
people don't have a job.
right. No, you're no longer working.
And he's living on a beach in Costa Rica.
Who you blaming next? And it just goes on and on and on.
Dude, just look at the Russian Revolution and how that went down. The Bolshevik Revolution. Or even a Pol Pot in Cambodia, where they killed all the educators, they killed the doctors, and then they just kept going down the list. They had to find a new enemy to blame, and they just kept killing and killing and killing. And then what happened? It's like now you have a giant void in your education system where you have the ignorant teaching the ignorant, and it just gets more and more brutal. Money doesn't, of course, our treasury was printing money like it does come out of thin air, but we're paying our tax burden today compared to 100 years ago is insane, absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm.
Before we even had a tax code, before we paid federal income taxes, we had roads. Right? This was my argument when I was in South Carolina. I was talking to the county council, and I would say, if Walmart built their Walmart store at a location and the county said, hey, we're not going to build your roads. You need to build your own roads so the customers can get to your store. Walmart would, there's two things. They would move to a location where the county would build their roads for them, pay for their roads, right? Or they would build their own roads. If you really want a store right here and you want customers to get here, I guarantee Walmart would build the roads, and they would be better than what the county built.
Well, that still takes place today.
My old fire department, my fire district that I worked in, and the county, if you want to build another neighborhood, guess what? You're going to set aside a quarter acre of land for a new fire department station, a substation, or you can pay for a new fire apparatus or a new EMS station. Your choice.
I used to laugh about that. The excuse was, oh, we have to raise taxes to fund the fire department
Yeah.
because of the growth, the population growth.
Right.
Really? You just had 20,000 new homes built in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And all these new corporations moving out here. You got all that tax base.
Yeah, they do a fee in lieu of taxes is what it's called.
Do you really need? No, you don't.
No.
You just need to manage your money better.
No, you need a set of balls to stand up to those people and say, listen, okay, cool, you want to build 1.5 million square foot warehouse right here? In order for us to fight a fire right there, we need this apparatus, we need this many firefighters in the station. Go ahead and give us, pay that $5 million, build whatever you want. I worked in a district with a Target distribution center that was over 1 million square foot warehouse. The county gave them a fee in lieu of taxes where they paid a few $1,000s a year to the county instead of their tax burden. And a fire department with 4 full-time guys, meaning one guy had to get and eat 4 trucks to roll out to 1 million square foot warehouse. And we had to call the city of Columbia to back us up to come out there, which was like a 20-minute drive for them to come back us up on a fire in this place, is absolutely ridiculous.
Yep.
And the county totally screwed these people over.
Well, and this is where you still have the power of the vote.
Yeah.
And the people are not going to the polling station and just saying no.
Well, the only you have only dirtbags who want to be politicians.
Let them.
That's it.
They start.
And then
we
when you
still
don't
have
try to
laws that
hold
say
them
you have to
accountable-
vote. just have to vote to pass a tax increase.
They vote however the hell they want to vote. They vote how they're told to vote.
I'm talking about the voter.
The voters are
All vote yes. They go, oh, it's for roads. Oh, it's for the school. It's for the children.
my roads.
Right?
Yeah,
No,
don't you
it's
back
not.
the blue? Don't you back the blue? What do you hate cops, Kevin?
Right. I mean, that's the whole. Vote no, people. Vote no on your taxes.
Anything that's a tax increase, vote no.
This is why this is why they roll homeowners taxes and insurance, personal property tax for a home into
It's a scam.
automatic payments,
It's such a
so
scam.
you don't see it.
Yep.
It's your quote unquote escrow account where that builds up to do your annual tax payment on your mortgage for
Yeah.
personal property tax, and then
It's disgusting.
you don't pay attention to it. Look at what you get.
Yeah.
There are 12 line items of taxes
Yep.
involved in that, the highest being the school district.
Yeah.
And we all know that the more money you put in the school district, the less popular, the less education our
Yep.
kids get out of that school district.
Yeah.
It's
And,
not about paying the teachers better. That's not where the money's going. It's going to the football stadium.
Yep.
It's going to the swimming pool they built. It's going to the
The hockey team.
right.
Yeah.
It's not going to the teachers.
They get a pretty good chunk too. They got a good deal. They
It's
got a good
amazing
thing
to me.
going. Well, Kevin,
And then
you know
all
what we
this
should do?
money, all this money is
Abolish the
going to. What
Department of-
happens is every year you still get this list
Yeah.
that comes home. You have to have all this stuff, right? The kids have to provide this. I
Yeah,
actually
you
bought
gotta
it.
buy
one
your
year.
own. Yeah, buy your.
You
freaking-
need 25 pencils and 6 erasers
Yeah.
and 3 packs of magic markers. I actually protested this one year. I went to the school district and said, why do I have to do all this? My kid won't go through this many in a year. Well, it's to be able to help the other kids that are
Right.
there.
Yeah.
That's what my taxes are for.
Yep.
I'm not a charity.
Yeah.
And then every school district, every church, every organization around here in the fall when school starts, what do? The annual
Fundraiser.
backpack drive.
Yeah. Bring paper towels and.
And you fill up your backpacks with all the school supplies.
Yeah.
What are you doing with it all?
Man.
At the end of the year, it's all still sitting on a shelf.
Yeah.
It didn't go anywhere. And then next year, you want us to do it
You
again?
know what's worse? When you homeschool your kids, you still have to pay for that crap.
By the way, I would gladly have an educator as a guest on this podcast, and we
yeah.
can debate this for 3 hours.
Somebody who's a part of the teachers union too.
Ooh.
That would be great.
Anyway, I'm off my soapbox.
All right.
Be kind, people.
Yeah, except for those bastards that steal your paycheck money.
Unbelievable.
Oh man. You know,
We're taxed everywhere. We're taxed on everything we buy. We're taxed at the gas pump.
I even had a huge problem with being a firefighter, and my paycheck was coming from tax money, taxpayer money. And I'm a libertarian / almost anarchist, where I'm like, ugh, dude, I'm part of the problem. And but I never complained about pay. I never complained about how much I made. It was abysmal. I think when I started out, I was making $27,000 a year.
My favorite now is how they're moving everybody to a cashless society.
Yeah.
And now you're going to all these restaurants and different stores and
You got to
things.
tip on everything.
Well, you have that, but there's a sign. There's a 3% fee if
Yeah.
you use your credit or debit card.
That's the credit card companies.
Oh,
doing it.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're accepting cash now.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you pay in cash, we don't charge the fee.
Right.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going back to cash. How about we just start bartering?
Yeah.
And then we keep the government out of it altogether.
There you go. But
We'll barter.
our tax code has language about bartering, paying taxes on bartering.
Yes, I know.
Sons of bitches.
Good luck trying to get that.
Back when I was single, right, and I was on the dating apps, I matched with a lovely young lady. She was pretty. We had our first date set up, and we were texting back and forth and having some good banter. Oh, and then it comes down to, well, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a firefighter, EMT. We're good here, and blah, blah, blah. And what do you do? And she said, I work for the South Carolina State Department of Revenue. And I was like, oh, I don't think this is going to work out. And she said, are you serious? I said, yeah, I'm absolutely serious. I don't think I could. You and I have nothing in common if you feel like what you do for a living is better than a gangster. I think you're playing part in one of the greatest robberies in American history. and you should be ashamed of yourself. Have a good life. And I cut off all contact with her.
I accidentally realized that the 1910s, the teens, I'm talking 1912 to World War I, 1918.
Yeah.
I really think that 10-year period did more harm to our country than any other,
Yeah.
with the constitutional amendments that came through there.
Yeah, that's like the Great Gatsby times.
Well, you
right?
had the federal income tax.
Yep. Woodrow Wilson.
You had they changed it to where senators were now elected directly by popular vote.
Instead of appointed.
Yeah,
by
by
the
the state
government.
legislatures. That was a change. You had the women's right to vote
Yeah.
was at the same time.
Terrible.
And there was something else. There was a fourth one. It'll come to me.
It was Prohibition.
Well, Prohibition didn't come until the
After the women's suffrage,
mid-20s.
women had a big role to play in that.
That wasn't until the 20s. I mean, that was the Roaring 20s, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, the federal income tax, the beginning that, and it was only supposed to be temporary,
right.
a temporary measure, right?
And how was the government funded prior to that?
Yeah, how did that happen?
Was that a tariff? Is that what the word was?
Crazy, man. That's really crazy.
Everybody was on the gold standard.
No kings. We can't have a king because the tariffs are evil, and the gold is the.
Do your history.
Oh man, if those who forget their history are doomed to repeat it.
Or change it altogether. Make
Or
it worse.
you could say, what is the big saying is, strong men create good times create weak men create bad times. We're in the bad times part. The weak men of the baby boomer era,
It's changing.
they're the ones who created where we're at now. The so-called greatest generation that, is debatable.
I would agree with that.
And the children that they sired who raised people like me who are completely anti-establishment.
Let me
and
ask you, the greatest
hard to-
generation. Okay, so these are the guys that came out of the Depression, went into World War II, fought
Yeah.
World War II and won,
Yeah.
right? That's the basic definition.
Okay.
Do you think the guys that fought in World War II had it better or worse than the guys that fought in the U.S. Civil War?
They had it better.
Absolutely, they did.
Yeah.
Warfare changed,
Well,
but
yeah,
the conditions were much worse in the Civil War
absolutely.
and more brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. And like Depression, the Depression were good times for Civil War era people, those soldiers. We're not talking about the rich folks who were living high and, mighty. They were living good. The rich folks were living good. If you want a good, the diary of, I can't remember it. I don't know why I brought it up because I knew I wasn't going to remember it. Boykin. Her last name was Boykin. She kept a diary during the Civil War. And she's from Camden, South Carolina. And she talks about how hard it is. My shoes were tattered and we couldn't get flour this weekend. And, the Negro slaves have it so good on our plantation because Pawpaw built them a church for themselves and all this. And you're like, I do not feel sorry for you one bit, woman. You should have died of, tuberculosis. But it was the times, like they had no idea how disconnected they were from reality, the rich people. And you had the poorest of the poor fighting that war where they could, the rich could buy their way out of fighting in the Civil War.
On the North.
On the North. Yeah, in the North.
But many of them didn't. I mean, there were many that did, but there are many that didn't as well.
No, sure. But you talk about the darkest time in American history is
But
the
it
Civil
happened
War.
with Vietnam. Vietnam was the education exclusion, right?
Yeah. Dick Cheney, George Bush, Donald Trump. Who else? All of them. All the politicians. At least John Kerry was there.
You know what the average age of the fighting man was in World War II?
I think it was late 20s.
26 years
Yeah.
old. And the average age of the fighting man in Vietnam? 19.
19.
Yep.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Yeah. Greatest generation, my ass.
Yeah, because that's who was running the Vietnam War.
Yeah. Yeah. Robert McNamara.
Lyndon Johnson.
Lyndon
He was
Johnson.
being Adolf Hitler and directing troops himself personally.
Yeah. Westmoreland. Dumb bastard.
I have his autograph somewhere.
Burn it.
Oh, no, I'll save it.
So, well, this took a dark turn.
It's all your fault. You and your weird anarchist stuff.
Listen, I'm an agorist, not an anarchist.
Yeah, you're an aggravatingist. That's what you are.
Agorism is the way. Barter, trade, learn some skills, help your neighbors, be kind, be a human. That's what it's all about. Like,
Well, maybe we're talking about the wrong things.
okay. What do you want to talk about?
I don't know. Drinking bourbon.
Well, we're drinking some blackened whiskey right now.
Blackened in the air.
What's going on up there?
I don't know.
All right. Well, folks, we are an hour and 21 into this show. We're half a bottle in. I think we should call it quits.
Yeah, we can do that. We'll pick it up again.
I don't want people to know too much about me and how I really feel.
Too late.
That side of me. But
Palantir will do that for you. They already have all your
they
data.
know. Yeah. The government
And-
has my DNA.
Palantir is one step ahead of you
Oh.
already.
Here's what I wanted to bring up about the LA riots. Trump mentioned the Hobbs Act, about using the Hobbs Act.
Okay.
Do you know what that is?
Tell me.
Where are my glasses?
Tell the world.
So the Hobbs Act was enacted in 1946. It prohibits actual or attempted robbery or extortion that affects interstate or foreign commerce, as well as conspiracies to do so. It was an anti-racketeering measure that was used in disputes with labor unions and management. So I started looking into it, like, how the heck is this applicable to rioters in LA? And the way they're going to do it is these businesses can't open because there's these protesters outside. So they're going to use federal law enforcement to round these people up
Isn't that amazing?
and arrest them and throw them in prison.
That's great.
That's horrific.
That's fantastic.
It's absolutely horrific and tyrannical to do that.
Let me know when they do that here in St. Peter's,
Yeah,
if your reaction is the same.
we'll see. Closing the book. And thank you, folks, for listening. You can find us on Facebook at the Headspace and Tasting Podcast. We're on YouTube, Headspace and Tasting Podcast, on
Yeah.
X.
Headspace and Tasting Podcast.
Yep. And if you have a bottle that you want to donate, which we are super grateful for all of our donors so far, please keep it up, and keep them coming. Even though we rated 2 stars, we are so appreciative, and this whiskey was delicious because it was donated.
Yeah, I mean, that's the fun of it, is we're always trying something different, and we just don't know where we're going to go with it. Mm-hmm. And
I'm waiting for somebody to donate a plastic bottle of Old Crow or Deerberg's special or something like that.
we're talking to you, listener,
Listeners.
or a premium, John.
Yeah.
And, you can contact us at showmemk@gmail.com,
Yeah.
or you can comment on our Facebook page.
Spotify, YouTube, comment, like, subscribe, share, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Whatever the kids do nowadays. Yeah, I think I'm going to go hydrate before tomorrow, Kevin. I got a long bike ride to hit. I got in-laws coming to town.
Mine are already here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I got to.
I bowled yesterday. It was terrible. 2 games, 187.
Did you use the bumpers?
I probably should have. Some of the worst bowling I've ever done. I bowled much better than that. That was the worst ever.
I
Anyway.
like to use the lighter balls, and I only use my 2 fingers, no thumb, and put a wicked spin on that thing. But then I'm out of commission for like 2 weeks after that because my shoulder hurts so bad. And That's
Have
why I
your
don't bowl.
good form. That's all you need.
You know, or don't be an idiot when you're younger. Take care of your body.
Right.
All right, Kevin. Thank you for coming over. We didn't do a weather report. Usually we say it's like a beautiful spring day, beautiful summer day. It's hot and muggy outside.
Yep.
Welcome to Missouri.
Finally.
That's it. Bye-bye.
Peace out.